Dude, I have recorded this 8 times. Schenck versus the United States by Aaliyah Mackey. Okay, let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about what it is. Schenck versus the United States refers to a landmark Supreme Court case that did 3 major things. Say it with me, 3 major things, right? So, first of all, it helped kind of define the limits of the First Amendment, which is basically it just helped people realize what exactly they could and couldn't say of the First Amendment, because contrary to popular belief, it is not unconditional. It also established something called the clear and present danger test, which is basically just a test applied to speech that defines whether or not it's protected under the First Amendment. It also increased the rigidity of the First Amendment during wartime. During wartime specifically, I think. It just kind of just cracked down on the First Amendment limits. And here are some laws that you should know before we get into it. You got the First Amendment that protects freedom of speech, press, and religion, but the main one we're talking about is speech. You also have the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, mainly the involuntary servitude part, arguably slavery, right? Then you got the Espionage Act of 1917, which prohibits tampering with the military draft in any way. Can't mess with it, can't ignore it, can't do nothing. And who's the name of the case, right? You got this Schenck versus the United States, but who the freak is Schenck? Well, first of all, he was the general secretary of the Socialist Party, so he was a freaking socialist, and then he was a political activist, right? So this, I think, when we get to what he actually did, it's not going to be too out of character, and he participated in hundreds of protests, so he was not, super so he was in that scene. What he's gonna do isn't gonna seem too out there for him. Now, what happened, Schenck? What happened? He distributed pamphlets that was encouraging people to oppose the military draft. And the reason that he was doing that was because he claimed the draft violated their 13th Amendment right? And the 13th Amendment right, if you remember, very much prohibited slavery and involuntary servitude. Now, he believed this was a legal exercise of his First Amendment right, but he was arrested. He was arrested for this. And according to the unanimous court, they believe 3 things. First of all, they believe that Schenck's pamphlets pose a clear and present danger. There goes that test again. Again, just a test applied to someone's speech that determines whether or not they are their speech is protected under the First Amendment. And according to the unanimous court, his speech was not protected because his pamphlet specifically posed a clear and present danger. Also, the pamphlets encouraged citizens to violate the Espionage Act of 1917. It encouraged people to oppose the draft. It encouraged people to ignore it. Schenck's actions were not protected under the First Amendment, contrary to Schenck's belief, and it's because of that clear and present danger. He was arrested and charged for violating the Espionage Act of 1917. More specifically, conspiracy to, I believe. However, it can be argued that is exactly what he was doing. And here's what I learned from the case. I'm sick of Schenck's name. Depending on the state of the nation at the time, the Supreme Court's interpretation of the U.S. Constitution can shift depending on the country's needs. Now, I guess what I'm trying to say by this is kind of the way that the country is going at the time, right? It can kind of influence how the court makes their decisions based on the Constitution. First of all, you got the fact that this case kind of took place during World War One, and he was trying to mess with the military draft. I think that definitely influenced the court's decision to kind of put this clear and present danger test out there. And I think it's the reason that the clear and present danger test kind of succeeded. And I think it's the reason that they really, kind of put that test on the First Amendment also. So yeah, I think that depending on like how the country is going and the current events in the country, this can definitely kind of change the court's interpretation of the U.S. Constitution. Yeah. I'm tired. I think I'm done. Am I done? Yeah, I'm done. Let's go. Okay. All right, bye.